Welcome to the Middleware Tech YouTube channel. In this series, you'll learn Web Service Introduction. All code examples used in the videos will be available on GitHub. Let's get started.
These are some of the ready-made available web service as an example, right? Okay, let me get some more input here. Architecture, basic architecture, I can say. Architecture in depth, I'll come later. Basic. Fine. So when I talk about web service basic architecture, what does it mean by this? With examples, we try to understand. In web service basic architecture, we have two components. One is called requester one, and we are saying this server one is a requester. And I have another one server. Server one. I'm saying it's a requester. Assume it's an example of MMT. Make my tree server, clear tree or Go Vivo requester. Fine. Okay. And we have another component called provider. So provider, assume it is an Indigo Airlines. Fine. And this is running inside another server called server 2. Right? And these two servers is going to communicate with each other. Fine. Now, when these two servers is going to communicate, what is going on is that when these two servers is going to communicate with each other, sometimes we say it is an request and provider communication, and sometimes we talked about destination, source and destination. So whatever it is, these two servers is going to communicate with each other, correct? And this communication is using web service. This communication is using web service, right? Okay. So what happened is that whatever details is coming from here, as I just now told you, it's an EJB, whatever the application component that is converted as an XML JSON, and whatever the details is here. So what we are going to send to provider, that we are going to convert as an XML or JSON. I'm saying multiple times same things just to make it clear for everyone. And whatever the things provider is going to send to the requester, those details I want to exchange as an XML/JSON, right? And then in this environment, this both of them is going to communicate. Now here I'm using the term called requester and provider. What does it mean? Requester means who need details, that is requester. And provider means who is providing the details, that is provider. So both are in both requester, assume it is a Make My Trip, provider, assume it's the Indigo or Air India site or Air Asia site, whatever it is. So this is a portal type project, MMT. So we need the details from other server so that I can show all the details in their server, whatever it is. So the communication is using based on web service, vendor-dependent communication, right? So this is called requester and this is a provider. This is one type of neutral term we can use. And the communication is done using web service. Fine. Now this, I'm saying that these two server is going to communicate with each other, and this is one type of distributed environment communication. So already we know, right? What is distributed environment communication? Distributed environment communication contain the communication between a stub and a skeleton. The requester, you'll find a stub, and here we have a skeleton. So stub and skeleton, implicitly or internally, it is a communication between a stub and a skeleton only. Though in the top level, you'll find that they're communicating using web service, but internally or implicitly, it's a communication between a stub and a skeleton. So we should understand how stub and skeleton is going to communicate in web service communication. That is our next in-depth discussion, web service architecture. But for the time being, we want to say that web service communication, we use the term called producer and consumer. We'll say this is a producer, or this is called consumer, or use the term called provider or requester. This type of terminology we generally use. That is given here. One is number one. We should need some of the details like WSDL. Okay. So second point is called SOAP. You know about them. Third point is called UDDI. So just now I told you, right? Requester. So these are the things that come into picture. You should know about them, right? So now I told you that this is my requester, and this is now they are going to communicate, right? Now here this component will come, WSDL. So what is WSDL? Why we need WSDL, and how we can define WSDL. So I just now told you that requester will get the web service from the provider. So once the requester will get the WSDL file, then he can get the access the web service from the provider. So what we have to do next is that we have to get some more details on WSDL file. We have to get more details on SOAP, right? And we should get some more details on UDDI. So WSDL file it's an XML file. So when requester will get the how requester is going to call the web service from the provider, when we'll get the WSDL file. We talk about some more details here. Now in web service communication, we use the SOAP protocol. It's one type of web service communication protocol. It is one example of registry, right? But we have to talk about more details into this one by one. So what we'll do next is that next in web service architecture, we find three components: requester, producer, and registry. Now we have to talk about these three components in details using this component. That is the first step. Then we talked about web service communication, types of web service based on communication. Okay, and we try to execute a simple web service, how it looks like, right? And then we have to move step by step. So what we'll do next is that we'll spend some time into this three component and try to create a simple web service talking about WSDL, right? So let's say some points, just one point, introductory point about them. Fine. WSDL as let me say first introductory point, then I'm coming with the details. WSDL full name is web service description language. Okay, web service description language, right? Okay. So what is this WSDL? WSDL is nothing but one XML file. WSDL it is nothing but one. It is an XML file. It will come in this syntax emp and dot WSDL extension. Using this extension, it will come like this, right? Okay. Next, number two, if I want to say something, that WSDL, so if as a requester, if I want to access any web service from the provider, so I should have one WSDL file. When I have that WSDL file, then only I can access that service. So requester can access the web service using WSDL file from provider, right? So we can write here, requester can access web service, using requester can access web service from provider using .wsdl, right? Using .wsdl file, right? Okay. Number 3, I want to say about WSDL file, that this WSDL file, as we talked about that, yeah, as we talked about, like in a web service is a communication where you are not going to write any business logic. Existing business logic you are going to expose, right? So WSDL file have lots of elements where want to access a particular web service from provider. So that web service assume the service is registration. Okay, so registration is the actual business logic, and this business logic you have exposed as a web service, and the requester want to access that web service. So assume the name of the web service is registration service. Okay, this is my name of the web service. So this registration service, who is going to access? And that registration service accessed by the requester. Requester requested for the registration service, then only he can access that web service, right? Yeah. So that is that. Then we have another one component called SOAP. Now, if I want to say some points about SOAP, full name is simple object access protocol. This is the SOAP full name. Now, what is the SOAP? SOAP is one type of web service protocol. What is the SOAP? SOAP is one type of web service protocol. Number one, it is a web service protocol. Okay, so for web service communication, we need a SOAP protocol. Now I just now told you that this requester can access a particular web service when requester will get the WSDL file. Then only you can call this REST service. So this requester should have REST service.WSDL file. Then only you can call. Now how requester is going to call that service to the provider? Requester will call the service to the provider using a particular protocol called SOAP. So SOAP is one type of web service protocol. So we use this protocol in case of web service communication. So it is used in web service communication. Is used in web service communication, and this protocol will always work above HTTP. We know, right? HTTP is a protocol, right? So HTTP is one type of a stateless protocol. So SOAP cannot work independently. SOAP protocol cannot work independently. It will always work above HTTP. So we can write here, SOAP will work above HTTP, right? Okay. Next, number 4 point, if I want to say, it is firewall friendly. It is firewall friendly. So protocol, right? Okay, it's firewall friendly, right? Okay. Okay, now you'll find some of the points I look like. I told you what is the task, what is the use of WSDL, what is the use of SOAP. Now the question is how this SOAP will look like, how this WSDL file look like, and what about UDDI? That also I told you, right? UDDI means what is the purpose of UDDI? UDDI is nothing but one type of registry. And what is that registry? As I told you, the different vendor came with their registry where we can deploy the web service. Okay, so this registry is we have inbuilt registry from different vendor. IBM have its own web service registry. Then Oracle has its own registry, Microsoft has its own registry. So even one vendor can contain multiple registry. So registry or UDDI, as for example, Oracle UDDI, Oracle UDDI is Oracle Internet Directory, OID. We have this name Oracle Internet Directory. It is one type of registry that is provided from Oracle. So where all the web services are defined, first you have to search all the web service from the UDDI registry. When you got that web service, then you have to call that web service, right? You should get the WSDL file. Then using that WSDL file, you have to send a request to the provider from the requester, right? So let's get some more input into these things one by one. So first we'll see how this SOAP protocol, as we define that JVM component that we used in web service communication, WSDL, SOAP, and UDDI, right? So what we'll do now is that before moving or before saying anything else, we try to understand we try to see how a simple web service look like, how a simple web service work. Let's understand how a particular web service work, right? So what I'll do before saying anything else, we got some input about web service. Let's understand how a simple web service work, right?